Have you ever watched other people fall in love so easily, while your own heart has never truly fallen for anyone? If so, don't rush to label yourself as cold, emotionally distant, or incapable of love. There's a psychological reason behind this one most people never realize they carry. You've seen love everywhere. The quick glances exchanged on a subway, the shared laughter in a diner booth, the excitement in your friend's voice after a perfect first date. You feel all of it sometimes more deeply than the people actually living it. You celebrate their butterflies, you absorb their heartbreak. Yet you remain on the outside looking in, like someone who knows every scene in the script, but has never stepped onto the stage themselves. And your loneliness is not the usual kind. It's the quiet ache of being left behind, of watching everyone else move forward, while your own heart refuses to open for anyone. You've tried fixing it. You've tried giving people a chance. You've tried pushing yourself to date more, feel more, connect more, but nothing works. Because the issue isn't a lack of effort or opportunity. It's the way your heart processes connection, something no generic dating advice has ever addressed. In this video, we're going to uncover all of it. Why your love works differently, why your high standards are actually a defense mechanism, and why people who've never been in love often carry a rare emotional strength. Welcome to the world of the waiting heart. If you've spent most of your life watching love instead of living it, there's a psychological reason, and it starts with the way your mind processes the world. People like you are not passive. You're not sitting on the sidelines because you lack desire. You're observing because you feel too much, too early, too deeply. This is what psychologists call the observer's curse. When you're wired to sense emotional shifts before others even notice them, you learn about relationships by studying them, their patterns, their red flags, their endings. You don't just see a couple fighting, you feel the tension in your chest. You don't just hear your friend's breakup story, you absorb the exhaustion behind their words. And this deep emotional processing isn't random. It's the signature of a highly sensitive person, HSP, someone whose nervous system is tuned like a microphone that picks up nuances other people completely miss. For HSPs, the world is louder. Conversations hit harder. Disappointment lingers longer. Everything emotional arrives amplified. That means when you witness a relationship falling apart, you don't simply think, "I don't want that." Your body reacts first. Your chest tightens. Your stomach drops. You imagine the weight of carrying that kind of pain, even though it isn't yours. So while others date casually, hoping for the best, you weigh the emotional cost before the relationship even begins. Where people see a fun connection, you see potential heartbreak, conflict, miscommunication, and unmet needs waiting to happen. And this creates a subconscious equation. If it's going to hurt, I need to be sure it's worth it. That's why you don't fall easily. That's why you don't just give someone a chance. That's why you stand at the edge, feeling the water before you jump. Because your heart isn't afraid of love. It's afraid of wasting itself. And here's the deeper truth. When you've spent years witnessing the emotional storms of others, your heart learns a painful wisdom. Love can heal you, but it can also destroy you, which leads to the next layer of your psychology. You don't fall in love through sparks, chemistry, or instant attraction. Your heart opens only when it feels safe, and that's where the story goes next. When your heart feels everything on a deeper frequency. Falling in love doesn't happen in an instant. It doesn't spark, it builds. Slowly, quietly, layer by layer. This is where many people like you fall on what psychology informally calls the demisexual or slow burn spectrum, a way of experiencing attraction that requires emotional safety before desire appears. Most people feel attraction first and connection later, but for you, it's the opposite. You need to see someone's integrity, their softness, their humour, the way they speak to a waiter, the way they treat someone who can offer them nothing. You need time not to judge, but to absorb. Your heart has its own rhythm, its own sequence, its own requirements. And there's a biological component too. Bonding hormones like oxytocin rise in you only after trust is established, not before. Your brain simply doesn't release romantic green lights until it feels completely safe. So while others can swipe, match, and feel a spark in seconds, you can sit across from someone who checks every box on paper and feel absolutely nothing, not because you're cold, but because your heart is honest. Then, sometimes, out of nowhere, something shifts. A laugh that feels real, a story that cracks someone open, a moment where their eyes soften in a way they didn't mean to show. And suddenly, there it is. A warmth you didn't expect, a pull you didn't choose. That's how your love works. Not a lightning strike, a sunrise. But here's the problem. Modern dating culture isn't built for people like you. It rewards speed, instant chemistry, short attention spans. It idolizes vibes and first date magic. It pushes you to decide in 30 minutes what your heart needs weeks, sometimes months to understand. And because your feelings grow slowly, you're told you're indecisive, unrealistic, hard to impress. But the truth is much simpler. You're not slow. You're selective with your soul. You don't want a fling. You don't want temporary comfort. You don't want noise. You want resonance. A connection that feels like truth, not luck. Which brings us to the tension everyone misreads as pickiness, but is actually something else entirely. By now, you've probably heard it more times than you can count. You're too picky. You expect too much. You're impossible to impress. But here's the truth nobody talks about. Picky is often just a misunderstood word for careful, and careful is often just a softer word for afraid. Not afraid of love. Afraid of the price of choosing wrong. When you love slowly and deeply, vulnerability isn't a small step. It's a full body leap. And if you give yourself to the wrong person, you don't just get disappointed, you get shattered. So your mind creates protections disguised as high standards. On the surface, they look like requirements. Underneath, they're shields. Psychologists call these false standards, criteria that don't reflect who you want, but what you fear. Here are 3 forms they often take. 1. Unreachably high expectations. The partner must be emotionally perfect, endlessly patient, flawlessly mature. No real human can meet these standards, which means no one is ever right enough to get close. 2. The predictability fantasy. You want someone who can read your mind, anticipate your needs, never misunderstand you, never get confused. This isn't compatibility, it's protection from conflict. 3. The zero conflict illusion. You wait for a love so smooth, it never triggers you, never overwhelms you, never requires tough conversations. But that's not love. That's safety dressed as romance. Here's the hardest truth. Your standards may not be walls, but your walls have learnt to disguise themselves as standards. And because the world doesn't see your inner logic, it labels you picky, distant, uninterested. But deep down, you know it's more complicated than that. You're not looking for perfection. You're looking for emotional safety, something your nervous system has been begging for your whole life. And in a world that moves fast, in a dating culture built on quick decisions and quicker exits, your caution gets misinterpreted as a flaw, when it's actually a form of self-preservation. But this caution doesn't exist in a vacuum. It gets magnified, sharpened by the pressure of everyone around you. And that's where the next layer of your psychology unfolds. Your caution would be easier to carry if the world didn't constantly remind you that you're running out of time. Because while you're quietly protecting your heart, everyone around you seems to be sprinting ahead. Friends announcing engagements, co-workers planning baby showers, holiday gatherings where the same question keeps coming back, soft but sharp. So, are you seeing anyone yet? And suddenly, it's not just your fear you're dealing with. It's the feeling of being behind. Psychologists call this the social clock, the unspoken timeline society sets for love, marriage, milestones. You're supposed to fall in love by your 20 seconds, be settled by your 30 seconds, and know exactly what you want at every moment in between. But here's the truth no one says out loud. This timeline is cultural, not biological. Emotional development doesn't follow a schedule, and love does not care about deadlines. Yet the pressure is real. You scroll through engagement photos, new home announcements, romantic anniversary posts, and a quiet voice inside whispers, "Everyone is moving except me." That's emotional FOMO, the fear of missing out on experiences you feel you should have had by now. But here's the reframing you've been needing. Being single isn't falling behind. It's building the emotional foundation your future relationship will stand on. Most people rush into love to avoid loneliness. You've been forced to face yourself, your patterns, your fears, your boundaries, long before sharing your life with someone else. That's not delay. That's preparation. And all of that internal work, all of that growth and self-understanding is carving out a different kind of love story. One that starts later, yes, but stands stronger. Because what comes next is the part most people never see in themselves, the hidden strength of a heart that has waited. Here's the part almost no one ever tells you. There is a rare strength in a heart that has never been in love. Not a weakness, not a flaw, a strength. While many people spend their teens and 20s giving their heart to the wrong people, burning out their trust, softening their boundaries, collecting emotional scar tissue, you've been building something different. Emotional capacity. Your heart hasn't been stretched thin by toxic cycles, or drained by relationships built on confusion, compromise, or fear. It hasn't been bruised by people who loved carelessly. Instead, it's been filling, quietly, steadily, with depth, clarity, and self-awareness. You aren't late, you're reserved. And the world has mistaken that for emptiness, when it's actually abundance. Psychologists have found that people who enter love later in life often do it with more intention, more stability, and a deeper emotional bandwidth. Why? Because they've spent years learning themselves first. Something many people never do. You know what you value. You know what you will not tolerate. You know how you want love to feel. Calm, safe, mutual, steady. You don't chase love to fill a void. You want love to meet you, not rescue you. And that changes everything. Because when someone finally reaches your heart, after all this time, after all this waiting, you will not love halfway. You will not ration your affection. You will not hold back. You will love with a depth that startles people. The kind of love that feels like home. The kind of love that transforms a life, yours and theirs. You are not a late bloomer. You are a slow-grown forest. Roots deep, branches strong, a heart built for something lasting. And that brings us to the final truth of this entire journey. So here's the truth your heart has always needed to hear. You are not behind. You are not missing out. You are not too much, too picky, or hard to love. You are simply blooming on a different timeline. Some hearts open early. Some open quickly. Yours opens when it feels safe. And that is not a flaw. That is wisdom. You haven't failed at love. You've been protecting a part of yourself that deserves to be given only to someone who can hold it with both hands. And when love finally arrives, not forced, not rushed, not manufactured, it will feel different for you, calmer, deeper, more grounded than anything you've seen in the movies or watched play out in other people's lives. It won't feel like a chase. It will feel like recognition, like coming home to someone you somehow knew all along. A flower never apologizes for the season it blooms in. Neither should you. If this video made you feel seen, stay. We talk about the quiet parts of the human heart here, and you don't have to navigate them alone. Subscribe if you want more videos like this, the kind that go deeper than surface level psychology. And tell me in the comments, do you believe love will find you in its own time?